Hi there and welcome back to another video on some extra features and tools inside of Mari. So often when texturing you will be given updates from your modeler which need to be adjusted to. If it's a small fix like a UV relax or some additional pieces of geo added, then you can just update the version of the object and change any layers that have been affected. Sometimes however your UVs may completely change, or you might have a huge overhaul of the model, and that means that you have to do something a little bit more drastic than just adjusting your layers. So in that case, Mari has some really useful transferring tools so that you don't lose what you've already done and you can incorporate it into your new model. So in this scene, I've got two pieces of geo. One is the original that I've been painting on, and the second is the same piece of geo, but with my UVs just moved around for a demonstration here. So I want to transfer my base color channel from the current object to this new one. To do that, you would need to go to the channel drop down and click transfer. And if you wanted to do it just to a layer rather than channel, then you would go up to the layer drop down and then click transfer. When you click that, you'll get this menu here. First, I need to make sure the source and destination objects and versions are correct. So you can transfer to a different version of the same object if you like, or from one to another. Then you need to select the channels you want to transfer. For now, I'll do just my base color, so I'll click the single arrow to add that single channel. And if you click the double arrow, then that will add all of your channels. Then I'm going to go to the Advanced tab at the top and change some options in there. So in here we've got quite a few options. I'm going to leave frames alone as I have no animation inside of Mari. Patches I will keep to all, but if you want to do just a certain range then you can set that here. Selection and visibility can also be used to further refine what you will transfer and what will not transfer, but I want to do everything, so I'm just going to ignore that for now. Underneath that we have a few other options. The only ones I ever really change are samples. If the transfer I did takes too long or it wasn't a great quality, then you can adjust that here. If you have new UVs or the topology has changed, then you should change object has moved to yes from no. Finally, the last one I play with is range. This is how far Mari will search for the new object to transfer to. Infinite can take a long time, especially if you have a big or heavy scene, so I often tweak this to a number that speeds up the transfer process for me. Or on the other hand, I've had it before when the transfer doesn't seem to have worked properly, and that could be because your search range is too low. So you can either set this to object size percentage or real world units. I'm going to set it to percentage and leave it quite low as I know the geometry hasn't moved, just the UVs have. So after that's calculated, and it could take a while, I can go to my new geo and see that it has transferred to it. This seems to have done a pretty good job, but occasionally some cleanup might be required, or maybe you can undo that and change the settings to get a better transfer. Let's talk now about a couple of other useful tools I like to use. First is a nifty little button called the Extract Patch to Image Manager. If I ever need to do cleanup on my texturing, say to clean up a seam or copy something over, to do this you need to select a patch and right click and go down to the patch submenu and click the top option, Extract. Mari will then calculate for a second, and then you can go to your image manager and see that patch as an image inside of there. This is a useful little feature that I don't use all the time, but when I do need it, it's a real lifesaver. Finally, let's touch on the clone stamp tool. Like in photo editing software, this tool lets you sample a space on your current layer and clone it to another point. The tool is nested in the same tab as our paint through tool, so you can find it there. When we select it, we see at the top on our tool settings bar, we get a new drop-down menu called Source. This tells us what we're cloning from. You can either copy from your current layer, from the paint already on your buffer, or from an image. Underneath, you will also see all the paint layers in your scene so that you can select another one to clone from. If you want to paint from all your layers at once, I suggest using the Extract Patches method we just touched on, and then use that in combination with the paint through tool. Once you have set up your source, you just need to press the Control on your keyboard to select a sample point, and then when you paint, Mari will clone the data from wherever you sampled from. Like the other painting tools, you can select different brushes from the shelf and you can edit the properties of your strokes in the Tools Properties palette. I think this is a really useful tool if you've projected and baked something down already and a detail is sticking out or something doesn't look quite right, then you can go in and just use the Clone Stamp tool to clean up the odd bit. It's really useful for seam cleanup as well. In our next video, we're going to touch on a few extra features of Mari. Thanks for watching.